Hey everybody, welcome to History University. My name is Tom and I will be your educator for this video. As we all know, it is spooky season and Halloween is coming up. In honor of this unique day, I want to give a brief overview of its origins and path it took to become the holiday we all know and love. Our story begins with the ancient Celtic festival known as Samhain. The spelling of this word is a little different than how it looks, but that's just the Gaelic pronunciation. Samhain was this Celtic festival held at the end of harvest around October 31st and November 1st. Samhain pretty much marks the end of summer and the harvest, and it is the transition into the beginning of the brutal winter ahead. The Celts believe on the night of October 31st that ghosts of the dead returned to Earth. Their belief was that the world of the living and dead would come together during this festival. On this evening, the religious leaders of the Celts, known as Druids, would build large bonfires. At these bonfires, people would gather and burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. The Celts believed that the sacrifice of crops and animals would lead to better predictions about the future. During the evening, the Celts dressed up in costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins. They would also attempt to tell each other's fortunes and see what the future would be like. The tradition from when Samhain became Halloween takes its first step in 43 AD. At this point in time, the Romans conquered the majority of the Celtics' land. They would occupy and control Celtic territory for the next 400 years, and in this period, they would introduce new celebrations to the Celts. The first holiday that the Romans introduced to the Celts was Feralia, which was a day in late October when the Romans honored the passing of the dead. So you can already see that the themes between these two holidays kind of overlap. The second holiday that was introduced was a day to honor Pomona. Pomona is the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. She is often symbolized with an apple. The incorporation of apples into Samhain might explain the tradition of bobbing for apples that we typically do on Halloween. In 609, Pope Boniface dedicated the Roman Pantheon to honor all Christian martyrs and solidified the Catholic feast of All Martyrs' Day, a day to honor all those who were persecuted for believing in Christianity, which was very common in the early history of the Church. A few years later, Pope Gregory III expanded All Martyrs' Day to also include saints. He then moved this day from mid-May to early November. During the 9th century, Christianity started to spread into Celtic lands, and more people adopted the beliefs of Christianity. The festival of Samhain started to blend in with Christian traditions. In 1000 AD, the Church made November 2nd All Souls' Day, which was a day to honor all of the dead. It was widely believed that the Church made up All Souls' Day to replace Samhain with a more Christian-aligned holiday. All Souls' Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain, with bonfires, parades, and people dressing up in religious-related costumes, such as saints, angels, and demons. The translation for this holiday in Middle English is All Hallows or All Hallows Mass. The night before All Hallows Mass, aka November 1st, a traditional date of Samhain, would get the name All Hallows Eve and would be eventually morphed into Halloween. By the 15 and 1600s, Europeans started to populate the Americas. The beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and the American Indians meshed into a distinctly American version of Halloween. The earliest celebrations included these play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would come together to celebrate the harvest, share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, and dance and sing. By the middle of the 1800s, annual autumn festivals were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. Also in the middle of the 1800s, Ireland faced a bad potato famine, leading to a mass exodus from the country. The new immigrants helped popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally, since they were the original practicers of Samhain. The tradition of trick-or-treating dates back to All Souls' Day in medieval England. During the festivities, poor citizens would ask for food in return for saying a prayer for the dead relatives of the person giving them food. This turned into an annual giving of something called soul cakes, where the poor would ask for food, say a prayer, and would receive food in return. Soul cakes were encouraged by the church as a means of charity. This practice was referred to as going a souling. As the years went by, it expanded beyond just soul cakes as people would be given ale, food, and money. The tradition for dressing up in costume for Halloween mimics the Samhain celebrations of dressing up like animals and spirits, as well as the Christian tradition for dressing up like saints and demons on All Saints' Day. This tradition of dressing up has evolved over the years, but as you guys might know, costumes like angels, demons, ghosts, and animals are very common to this day. The Americans of the 1800s were morphing together all of these European traditions that the new immigrants brought over. Americans began to dress up in costumes, go to house, and ask for food and money like their European relatives did. And this is how the modern notion of trick-or-treating began. The trick part of trick-or-treating comes from a lot of young people going out and causing ruckus and misbehaving. Vandalism became common on Halloween as larger groups of adolescents were hanging out and doing stupid things. In the late 1800s, there was a move to prevent all of this trickery. The goal was to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community, focusing on the aspects of neighbors getting together, giving out food and candy to each other. Parents were encouraged by newspapers and community leaders to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations. Because of these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitious and religious overtones by the beginning of the 20th century. After World War II, America experienced a baby boom, which was a 20-year period with a larger than usual birth rate, and as a result, the amount of children in the 40s, 50s, and 60s was higher than usual. The high number of young children moved the holiday into the classroom and to the home. Trick-or-treating became an inexpensive way for an entire community to share the celebration of Halloween. As the years have gone by, the holiday has always been well received by children, and parents make a great effort to hype up the holiday for the young kids. And in order to get the notion of tricks out of the way, schools started developing trunk or treat, which is where a student goes to a parking lot and they receive candy from the back of the teacher's cars. Today, Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween. This makes it the country's second largest commercial holiday behind Christmas. Before I finish, I want to wish you guys all a happy Halloween. I truly think this is a great holiday. I remember being a young kid and trick-or-treating with my friends, and then as I got older, I started going out to costume parties and enjoying the day. It is a wonderful day when people can dress up and express themselves however they want. It is something I've personally always had a fun time with. It is also such a great day for the community, as many houses just leave candy on the doorstep. Everybody is out and about, walking the streets, eating sweets, dressing up, and having a good time. Alright guys, that wraps up for this video. Have a safe and happy Halloween. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you can, and most importantly, have a good day.